Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
We can all finally exhale and relax a little bit. The Leafs win. Finally. I forgot what that looked like. How about you guys? Welcome in to Game Over Toronto following a huge overtime win from the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm your host, Zach Payne, and man, that could have gone a lot more negatively had the Leafs not figured it out in the last 5 minutes there, but boy, does it feel good to finally get back in the win column after quite a few depressing nights and have all of the big boys carry the load as you would expect them to with John Tavares out of the lineup. So let's get into it. Man, there's a lot to talk about because to start off with, well, how we're going to talk about this first period, our 3 segments. The first segment, as all of you join the stream, make sure to hit like and subscribe and leave your thoughts on this game down below. This game really, I was writing my notes throughout the game, right? And with about 10 minutes to go in the third, or whenever Matthews tied it, the first time he tied it, I kind of made a jot note in my mind. I was like, whether or not the Leafs win or not is going to determine how I talk about this game, because they have gone several games now scoring very few goals. The stat at the end of the second period, I believe, was the Leafs had 4 goals in their last 11 periods or something, which is terrible, unacceptable. And yet, third period, they get a few goals in the final few minutes of the third, forced overtime, win the game, and all of a sudden, kumbaya, we're all singing hooray. So to start off with, Dominic and I, last stream, if you guys were able to make it there, we talked about how the Leafs had some pretty concerning metrics for 10 straight games, right? Their expected goals had been below average in 7 of the last 10. They had only gotten 30 plus shots in 3 of the last 10. And then today, they have the most shots they've had in a game since December 15th. That was the last time they had 40 plus shots. December 15th. That was 15, 20 games ago. And they fought I don't know what was happening with a large problem for the Leafs as of late has been that their shots have been blocked. They've been missing the net, this and that. And there were still some things that I didn't love from the offense, especially how many defensemen were taking shots, way too many shots from the point. But when they're not getting blocked, it's crazy how things look a lot better on the score sheet. And obviously, a big part of that is Auston Matthews, which I will talk about the big boys specifically in a second. But on the whole, the team looked a lot better tonight on both ends of the ice. And, defensively, you can attribute a lot of that to Jake McCabe coming back. Offensively, you lose John Tavares to an injury, which, by the way, hope John Tavares is okay. He's currently week to week after sustaining an injury in practice, in case you weren't aware. Hope he's okay. Hope for a speedy recovery. So Tavares, being one of the better contributors to the Leafs this season, him going out, you see that after this recent stretch of games, you go, fuck. Damn, that's just super unfortunate timing because he has been one of the only guys that has been consistent this year. So what happens? You need someone else to step up. And, the third line with Holmberg on it, rather invisible. Nick Robertson, I thought, had some nice moments. Second line with Domi looked really good, actually. Nylander breaking his scoring slump and getting a couple goals, including the game winner. And obviously, Matthews and Marner have big nights as well. So to start with, because as I mentioned, I'm going to talk about Marner, Matthews, and Nylander in a little bit. I want to talk about some of the other contributors. First of all, Matthew Knies, who has been having an adventure of a week, really a week and a half here, where he's playing not so well. He gets demoted and then promoted literally half a game later again. He's back on the top line with no questions asked. Up and down game, once again, as we come to expect from him. The biggest thing with Knies is, man, he has to shoot the puck. There were two instances that were for sure a case of this, and there might have been a third, where Nyes has a great scoring chance. Great score, he's in a prime position to shoot the puck, and he passes to no one. Well, he's trying to pass to Auston Matthews, but you just got to shoot it, buddy. There was the one at the end of the first period, a beautiful tic-tac-toe, McCabe to Marner to Nyes, and he flubs it. Flubs it, trying to pass it to Matthews, who is kind of covered. And then in the first minute of the second period, Nyes gets the puck in the middle of the slot, and he tries to pass to Matthews again. At least the puck got to Matthews that time, but that is one thing you want Nyes to. I don't know if it's a confidence thing or he just needs to shoot the puck. And that was really the sentiment. Is I literally wrote in my notes in all caps, just shoot it, Nyes. Now, obviously, we are going to talk positively about the offense in general. I do want to note, though, through the first period, the Leafs had 0.5 for expected goals. That's awful. Through the second period, they had like 1.5 something. I haven't checked what they finished the game with, but it is worth noting the Leafs they were playing the Berube style that we've grown accustomed to over the last, especially 2 weeks, where it was low event. This was not that entertaining of a game through 40 minutes, right? The Leafs were down, they were losing, they were struggling to generate high quality chances. They were relying way too much on point shots. And while the defense was, again, improved with McCabe being back, it wasn't very encouraging to see what the Leafs were generating on offense, which was not much, right? And one of the only guys that was able to generate offense is a guy that, again, I have been known for criticizing this player. Maximus Domington. Max Domi. He was spectacular. Okay, maybe not spectacular, but he was so good. I'm not going to lie. In a game where it took a while for the Leafs to find their legs, Domi was absolutely buzzing all night. He sets up Nylander for the slump break, like the slump buster on just a great play, great hustle play, great skill, a great pass into the slot. And Domi had several good moments in this game. And for all his warts defensively that I criticize him for, and his inability to score goals, man, he does set them up at a pretty good rate. Going back to last year, this is obviously a product of playing with Auston Matthews, but Domi was one of the league leaders in slot passes generated per 60, or I forget the specific stat. He was getting the puck to high danger areas for his teammates to get good quality opportunities. So it was good to see that again. Nylander, obviously the beneficiary of that. Didn't notice McMahon quite as much on that line, but he was kind of babysitting them. Again, Luke in the chat, I can finally enjoy hockey again. Yes, we can, Luke. We can finally have a good time. So yeah, Domi, I thought, had a really good game filling in on that second line. I have no reservations about the same forward lines sticking next game. I know Pontus Holmberg. I have a lot of thoughts on Pontus. Well, sorry. I don't have a lot of notes on Holmberg, which results in me having a lot of thoughts on Holmberg still being a Toronto Maple Leaf. But alas, it doesn't really matter. When you're dealing with injuries, you can get away with it. So Holmberg on that, like Pacioretty, Holmberg, and Robertson, I had a total of 3 I quantify positive and negative events. I had Robertson with 1 positive event where he had a really good shot, a good opportunity. I did not have a single positive event for Holmberg or Pacioretty, and I had 2 negatives for Holmberg. I had no notes on Pacioretty at all. He was invisible in this game, but that third line in general, just very minimal impact on the game, which honestly, I'm not going to complain too much. A line that has Holmberg and Robertson on it, it'd probably be a bad thing if they had a lot of notes on them. So, is what it is. But enough foreplay. I'm going to transition us into our second period where we can talk about the big boys, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, all that. So, to start with, first of all, as we get into our second period, a reminder to hit like and subscribe to Game Over Toronto. Follow us if you're on a podcasting platform, and make sure you go check out all of the Game Over channels across all the Canadian markets. They have streams after every single Canadian game, Canadian market game in the NHL. So all the markets, they do a great job. You could also subscribe to the Game Over Network's Hub channel, where you can find Hyperdrive Hockey, which is the flagship podcast. And I know Andrew Berkshire, our leader-in-chief, he did some sort of work-along stream. You're just going to find more content, more general content on the Game Over Network main channel. So go check that out as well. Now, we needed this, man. We needed a cleanse. For so long, over the years, right? When the Leafs have played their worst, there has been one man who has carried this team to wins and points in the standings just through sheer will and ability to score goals, and that is Auston Matthews. It is so... It's funny because in my notes after that second goal, all I wrote was classic 34 bailout, because that's what this was. Auston Matthews scores a couple of goals in this game. That second goal, whew, was that ever a beauty? Like, okay, hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself. So Auston Matthews, through 40 minutes, he was all right. All of the guys, they were all right. In the third period, Matthews looked determined as I've seen him this season. His effort, especially on the forecheck and, hitting guys and separating people from the puck and getting in on stick lifts, all that, his effort was noticeably higher in the third period. Maybe effort's not the right word. His intensity was noticeably higher in the third period. And his sequence, I don't remember exactly when his first goal came in the third period, but what I do know is it comes off the back of a pure hustle play, drawing a penalty that Sheldon Keefe did not like. But, Matthews goes to a hard area, he goes for the puck, and just with sheer force of will, draws a penalty. Leafs go to the power play, and we have been complaining about the power play for so long. Dominic and I had a whole rant on it last show. And what did we say? We said, shoot the effing puck. And what happens? William Nylander takes a shot from the point. Matthews, who had been covered on the wall, just kind of floats down low, and gets the rebound, bangs it home, tie game. And man, that was so needed. The power play needed a goal so badly. And look, if anyone was going to get the power play, and honestly, this team, out of this kind of funk, this slump, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be Matthews. It's always going to be Matthews. He's the captain for a reason, right? He is the one who is supposed to be carrying this team. It is his team. And he put the team on his back. He ties the game at 2. Next shift, the Leafs have energy, and OEL takes penalty. Bad penalty to take. Sucked all the energy out of the building. Devils score on that power play. Is what it is. Not much you can do about it. The penalty kill coverage was not great. Didn't love that penalty kill shift from Riley and Philippe Myers. Is what it is. You're back down 3-2. So what does Auston Matthews do? Just absolutely snipes on Jacob Markstrom. You guys can let me know. You guys listening and in the chat right now. Where does that rank among Matthews' goals this season? Of the 17, that might be number 1, because that was a vintage Matthews goal. We talked about it against Dallas, a vintage short side snipe. This was peak Auston Matthews. He just gets a little bit of room. There is maybe a puck worth of room on that short side top shelf. But the best shooter in the league can find that room, and find it he did. So Auston Matthews, an absolute beautiful snipe, ties the game at 3, puts the team on his back once again, and then we go to overtime, and now I have to backtrack. Forgive me. Now I have to backtrack to another player, William Nylander. We talked about the fact last show. Again, I'll keep bringing it up because that was the vibe shift between last game and now. Incredible. So I have to keep bringing this up to just emphasize the vibe shift. William Nylander, as of coming into tonight, he had 1 goal in his last 7 games, and that was his only point in 7 games. Tonight, Max Domi feeds him in the slot. Beautiful one-touch release. It wasn't quite it was like a one-timer, kind of a cross. Not a traditional one-timer. It was like a one-touch snapshot. Finds the back of the net. Slump buster. He obviously gets an assist on that first Matthews goal on the power play with the heavy shot from the point. And then in overtime, after the Leafs didn't have the puck really at all for the first minute, they get the puck. Auston Matthews goes to change at the end of a shift. William Nylander hops on, and Mitch Marner just absolute laser beam of a pass up the ice. I mean, granted, the Red Sea parted for Nylander there. There was not a defender within 30 feet of him. But Mitch Marner finds him for the breakaway. Nylander in alone, snipes it. We go home happy. Now, couple notes, couple milestones happened in this game. 1, Max Domi. The assist on Nylander's first goal, his 300th career assist. So congrats, Max Domi. Number 2, Auston Matthews' second goal ended up being Mitch Marner's 700th career point. He is the fastest Toronto Maple Leaf to hit 700 points. I think. I should probably confirm that before I start yapping. The Leafs PR would have tweeted this, I imagine. Forgive me. 700 career points for, sixth skater in franchise history. Maybe he wasn't the fastest. Anyways, not the point. Mitch Marner, 700 points. And then he has an assist on the Nylander OT winner, of course. I don't know if they gave Matthews one or not. I should check that, actually. Let's check that out. Do we think Matthews got a 3-point night? I know Nylander did, for sure. Did they give Matthews? Oh, it was McCabe. So McCabe gets the other assist. By the way, Jake McCabe, in his return, picks up 2 assists. Good for him. But Marner, Matthews, each have 2 points. Nylander, 3 points. You love to see it. Luke says that the Matthews goal is number 1, but because it's what I needed to see to give me confidence that he's getting over his injury. Yes, that's another good note. We talked... I'm beating a dead horse here. We brought it up last show, how Matthews shoots the puck is a great indicator for how healthy he is. Man, does he ever look healthy. If this version of Auston Matthews had played all season, he would probably have 40 goals by now. That's extreme. That's neither here nor there. But Matthews, he looks like himself again, and I have no doubt if this is the version of Auston Matthews that the Leafs are going to have, he will get up to 40 goals this season. He's not going to pass Matt Sundin for the all-time Leafs franchise goal leader, whatever, but he'll get there next year. It's going to happen soon, man. Matthews is going to become the Leafs all-time all-time goals leader. There we go. I learned how to speak. He's going to become the Leafs all-time goals leader by next season, before he turns 30. That's insane. Absolutely insane. But yeah, look, man, I loved what I saw from the big boys in this game. Marner, I mostly loved what I saw from the big boys. William Nylander, I do have to mention this. You got to take the good with the bad. Had an absolute brain-dead pass on the first power play that caused Marner to have to take a penalty, which ended that power play 20 seconds in. Do have to mention that. But after that, in the second and third, he was much better. And you have to imagine that scoring a couple goals, winning a game, is going to help Nylander get out of this funk. Same with the whole team, really. And I'm just so happy that Matthews was able to step up when the team needed him the most and really, really drag them out of this because, man, did they need it. So moving on from that, we're going to move on to the third segment. And as we do, just a reminder, if you want another way to support the Game Over Network, you can check out our merch. I'm wearing the skater hoodie right now. It's very comfortable. I will say, if you're going to buy some merch, buy a size up. It does fit a little tight, but you can check that out at thegameovernetwork.com. We have merch available for every Canadian market, so whether you're a fan of Toronto or another team, go check it out. Again, that's at thegameovernetwork.com. Now, this third segment, I want to talk about the defense as a whole. Excuse me. So, big headline aside from Tavares missing this game. Jake McCabe is back. Oh my Lord. Does this team ever look so much better when Jake McCabe's in the lineup? Now, it's not all good. We still have to have a Morgan Riley conversation. I'll do that in a minute. But I want to focus on the good first. McCabe and Tanev, which this season has been one of the best defensive pairs in the entire league in terms of limiting scoring chances for the opposition and neutralizing the opposition. They have been one of the best defensive pairs in the league. Jake McCabe, Sheldon Keefe had this quote before the game. They said every team needs a Jake McCabe. And he's so right. Now, the Leafs used to have one. His name was Jake Muzzin. Jake Muzzin got hurt, and then the Leafs have kind of been trying to fill that void for a few years. Now, whatever people may say about Kyle Dubas and his tenure with the Leafs, getting Jake McCabe for 3 playoff runs at $2 million on the cap might be the most underrated trade that's been made in the entire league in the last 10 years? I don't know, last decade? Last 5 years at least. McCabe has been so incredibly solid for the Leafs. He has arguably been their best defenseman over the last 2 years. Getting him back was enormous. He had a couple nice shots in this game from the point. Leafs defense hasn't been particularly effective offensively. They have been shooting a lot, much to my dismay, but not with very high quality ones. Ekman Larsson had one really good chance. But you don't pay Jake McCabe to score you goals. You pay him to shut down the opposing top lines and make a good first pass. He did that in abundance tonight, and he's been doing that all season. 10 of 2. Those guys complement each other so well on the back end because they both have similar skill sets. It's the difference is McCabe is a little bit bigger, a little bit more physical, a little bit more offensively minded, if you will. Tanev, he's a little bit smarter defensively. He's a little bit better at shutting down a cycle. He obviously is the best at blocking shots. And those two, in the playoffs, when the Leafs get there, obviously in another 3 months or whatever it is, that pair is going to shut down the top line of whoever the Leafs play, and it's going to be amazing. That pair just existing so immensely boosts the Leafs' odds of success in any playoff series. Like having a true, legitimately great shutdown pair is something the Leafs have never had. They haven't had, at least not in this iteration of the team. So love to see McCabe back. Love to see the positive impact that pair have. Now, we still have to have a talk. Morgan Rielly. I am not sure if he was on the ice for the second Auston Matthews goal because that was at 5-on-5. But I do know this. After the Jack Hughes goal early on, which, by the way, a lot of blame to go around on that one. Rielly for a bad pass, Lorentz for losing position, Joseph Woll for going on an adventure when Jack Hughes didn't move his feet. A lot of blame to go around. In the last 10 games at 5-on-5, the Toronto Maple Leafs have been outscored 10-1 when Morgan Rielly is on the ice. And obviously, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, on the penalty, the second power play goal allowed, failed penalty kill that Hischier got his second of the game on, Rielly and Myers, horrifying on that goal. They just are so bad in front of the net. That pair is an adventure. That pair is the ultimate chaos pair. Everything happens when they are on the ice, both positively and negatively. I will say, to Morgan Rielly's credit, he was a lot more impactful in the offensive zone tonight. Looked like he was a lot more engaged. I found him, skating through behind the net more often. He was willing to carry the puck in himself. He was making pretty good reads with his passes. He looked a lot better. Offensively. Defensively, he's an adventure. Philippe Myers, bless his soul, he is the Chaos King right now because he shoots it 3 to 4 times a game. I want him to score so badly, but defensively, he's just not it. He has a few nice hits per game, but he's just not it. So, maybe in the question segment at the end, maybe I'll talk about this, but if we're ranking trade deadline needs, I don't know where I would rank a partner for Morgan Riley, because if you get, I don't know, man. We'll talk about that later, because between a potential top six winger or a third line center or a right defenseman to play with Morgan Riley, there's a lot of needs, which is, for a potential division winner, that is rather shocking, but the entire Atlantic's been mid. Speaking of which, the Florida Panthers once again lose in regulation. So the Leafs are back up to a 3-point lead on the Panthers for the lead in the Atlantic. Good for them. Just thought that'd be worth noting. All right, third pair. Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Connor Timmins. Now, OEL, I don't know what is going on with him, but the penalties, dude. The penalties have been insane lately. The first one is tough because he has one hand on his stick. He swipes at the puck and he gets under Heischer's skate. I understand the frustration with it, but dude, you hit the guy in the skate and he falls down. That's going to get called every single time. And the second one, a hooking, you can't have it. It came at a terrible time too. You just scored to tie the game up. There's a bunch of energy in the building. The bench is starting to feel better. And it looked like on that shift that the goal went to the Leafs' legs, and then he takes a stupid penalty. Can't have it. You can't have it. And obviously the Devils score on it. I believe they scored on both OEL penalties in this game. So just terrible. Just terrible. You can't have it. He had a few nice moments offensively, but when OEL was brought in, and forgive me, I'm checking stats on my phone while I say this, but OEL this season, we said, hey, look, the reason he's here is the Leafs need more offense from the back end, right? They need more offense. On the season, he has 15 points now in 45 games. That is a pace, an 82-game pace of 27 points. 27 points. For reference, last year with Florida, playing 3 less minutes per game, he had 32 points, and he had 9 goals. For Vancouver, in 2022-2023, he had 22 points in 54 games. In 2021-2022, he had 29 points in 79 games, so that's not great. And then 2020, in 46 games, he had 24 points. The offense has just not been there. Part of that is the Leafs. At the start of the season, the hope was that he would rack up some power play points because he was on the top unit to start the year. But obviously the Leafs are running a 5-forward unit now. And even when they don't, it's Morgan Riley's show because the more things change, the more they stay the same. And OEL just hasn't had a very profound or pronounced offensive impact at 5-on-5. He just hasn't. And it's tough because while I want to criticize that, kind of seems like it's a bit of a philosophical thing with the Leafs because all of the Leafs defensemen have been terrible offensively this season. Name one defenseman that's had a good offensive season. McCabe. Maybe. That's about it. You guys can let me know if you disagree, but Morgan Riley, we know about his down year. It's not like Philippe Myers is trying, but it's not like he's very good at producing offense. McCabe is good for what he is. Tanev is good for what he is. Tanev's not an offensive guy either, but OEL was the other guy. And Simone Benoit definitely is not an offensive guy. Connor Timmins had a few nice moments in this game. He had one really nice, confident drive to the net that he almost scored on. I was really impressed by. But this is where the John Klingberg thing kind of makes sense because the Leafs have been so bad at generating offense from the back end. Sure, sign John Klingberg. Let's see what happens. That being said, the prospect of a Benoit-Klingberg pair might be the most terrifying thought ever. Dude, when Tavares is back and if they sign Klingberg, the idea, the sheer idea of a possibility that the McMahon-Domi-Robertson line could be out at the same time as the Benoit-Klingberg pair, that would be the worst 5-man defensive unit you could possibly assemble. But as far as offense goes, you might as well try it. You might as well try. You don't have anything to lose. So you guys can let me know your thoughts on that. Lastly, before I turn it over to the final segment here, we should talk about Joseph Woll. He allows 3 goals in this game. One of them is very clearly not his fault. The other 2, while they aren't explicitly his, so the first 2, I should say. First goal, Jack Hughes is left all alone in front. Sucks. You can't leave Jack Hughes all alone in front. That being said, Joseph Woll, don't know where he was going on that because Hughes just did a little head fake, a little half fake, and Woll went flying. He goes flying out of the crease and gives Hughes, he almost recovers, gets his glove on it, but it trickles in, gives Hughes a pretty easy opportunity there. Second goal, beats him clean. Nico Hischier from about just inside the ringette line on the left side, just beats him clean in that perfect spot over the pad under the glove. Timmins kind of screens Woll. And then the third one, it's a rebound on a penalty kill because 2 guys are soft in front of their own net. But that being said, you want Woll to save one of the first 2. If he saves either of those first 2, the Leafs win in regulation. Right? And they almost won in regulation anyways because in the last 5 minutes, the offense was just off the charts buzzing. So overall, Woll, I didn't like... I had the first 2 goals as negative events. He also had a few very key saves after giving up that third goal in the power play. When it was 3-2, he had a few big saves to keep it at 3-2. Those were his best saves of the night in that stretch before Matthews tied it up again. So, excuse me. On the whole, I had Joseph Woll grade out as an average night. That was an average night. It was a perfectly normal Woll game. So, I don't know. You guys can let me know what you thought of his game. Let me know what you thought of the defensive game as a whole. As we move on to our 4th segment, this is also the time that I will invite your questions. And this, if you have any Leafs related questions, any questions in general, this is the time. Make sure you like and subscribe to Game Over Toronto. Again, reminder, if you're on a podcasting platform, leave us a review. Follow the Game Over Network on all socials. Now, if you guys don't have any questions, I'll just kick it off with this. Trade deadline. It's coming up sooner than we think, right? I actually have to think about this because if I had to rank what the Leafs need, I actually don't know what I would rank first. Part of the problem with that is there is something they have failed to try this season, and that's Max Domi on the top line. I would love to see an extended stretch of Nyes, Matthews, Domi, because that will be a very big indicator for what the Leafs actually need offensively. If you can rely... Whoa, voice crack. If you can rely on Domi to be a top-line player with Matthews, you move Marner down to play with Tavares, you move Nylander down to play on the third line, then the answer's clear. You need a third-line center to play with Pacioretty and Nylander. If you can't, then Domi is presumably your third-line center, and you need a top 6 forward so that you can afford to have a third line where Robertson's probably gone, and then you have Pacioretty and McMahon on the third line, and then either Nyes on the second line or blank trade deadline acquisition. Then defensively, you need someone to play with Morgan Rielly. Now, it is important to note, at this point, Morgan Rielly is the second pair left defenseman. So, you need a 4, basically. You need a 4th defenseman. If you think a few years ago when Luke Shen came to town, you need like a 2022 Luke Schenn is what you need. But I don't know if I'd rank that above the offensive needs because the offense is so bad. And we need to score in the playoffs, so I don't know. Do you guys want Logan Stanley? Brendan, why would you say that? Don't ruin my night, please. Logan Stanley can probably... No. You know what Logan Stanley would do? He would lose the Leafs are very good at losing playoff series in 7 games. Logan Stanley would ensure that the Leafs lose in 5. Luke says, how do you think other teams are feeling about the prospect of playing Leafs in the first round? Look, it doesn't matter how good of the Leafs could go 82-0, win the President's Trophy, score 700 goals in the regular season, and match up against a team that's 80 points behind them in the standings, and no one would be scared of the Leafs. There is nothing the Leafs could do to make a team not want to play them in the playoffs. Because why wouldn't you? If you are a playoff team in the East, and if you're Montreal, Ottawa, Detroit, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, all those teams who are in the mix for the second wildcard spot, all of those teams are begging the Leafs to win the East because the prospect of playing the Leafs in the first round is so much better than any other team. Now, of course, the Leafs should win. Like, if the Leafs win the East and they play Ottawa in the first round, Detroit in the first round, the Leafs should win those series. That being said, the Leafs also should have beaten Montreal in the first round of that Canadian division season, and we all know what happened there. They also should have beaten Columbus in that 5-game series in 2020, and we all know what happened there. So there is, to answer your question, Luke, I think every other team would look at the Leafs and be like, look, are we as talented as the Leafs? Probably not. But the Leafs are fighting a lot of demons. The Leafs will be feeling the weight of the world no matter, the longer the Leafs could, let's say the Leafs take a 3-1 series lead. And if your Detroit's, your Ottawa, your Columbus, whatever, wins that game 5 to force a game 6, every Leafs land melts down because it's like, oh no, here we go again. Like, we're never going to be able to do this. So I think teams would be thrilled to play against the Leafs. Now, with that being said, if you guys have any last questions, this is the time, chop. As we wrap up the show, again, excuse me, a reminder to hit that like button and subscribe to Game Over Toronto. Follow us on Twitter at the Game Over Network. You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Zach Payne 41, should say. Also follow the Game Over Network on Blue Sky as well. Forgot about that one. You can also find me on YouTube at Zach Payne. I make football content over there. You can also, if you're interested in football, I also have a podcast, The Pain and Drain Show, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you follow Game Over Toronto, wherever you get your podcasts. Hyperdrive Hockey as well is on the Game Over Network's main YouTube channel and on podcasting platforms. So with that being said, thank you for watching, everyone. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.